discreet about it. Extra, extra, read about it. Say you wanna beef about it. We gon' come and see about it. Flexing, ain't discreet about it. Extra, extra, read about it. Say you wanna beef about it. Find out nothing sweet about it. Flexing, ain't discreet about it. Extra, extra, read about it.
It is my pleasure. It is going down. My guy, he's here. Transition the world of radio from the streets to the music to making an iconic moments in the world of radio, working from everybody from Steve Harvey, everybody at the beat, to making things happen in LA. Most of the people that listen to radio now, radio is like a different type of medium. And it took a different way of getting people to the medium. And it was this one guy right here, one of the biggest homies that I have in the game, Bigg Pwee, transitioned the listenership to radio in a magnitude that nobody's ever done in these streets of LA. He's a legend out here. Give it up for my guy, Bigg Pwee.
Hey, yeah. Yeah. All right.
This is this is the one right here. Pee-wee, you've changed how in a world of where the internet's at right now and the listening habits of everybody, it wasn't always like that. We had to physically get in front of people. We had to physically be in front of people. We had to change the way people did certain things. And you were one of the voices, not just one of the voices, one of the most iconic voices out here in LA on these streets, making it happen, transitioning it to radio, always been a part of the fabric and the culture of LA. And if you don't know, now you know, and you here, bro. How you been?
Man, I appreciate that love, man. B.Woods, thank you, bro. Like,
Yeah.
for real.
Yeah.
You know, that means a lot. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, man, what I've contributed to the city of Los Angeles, you know, over the past 20 years or whatever, man. I'm just grateful. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, it really is, because like when you see the transition of how people listen, they were like, okay, yeah, Pee-wee, he came to my school. I met him on the streets, and now I'm listening to the radio now. And you've literally like grew up with the city of Los Angeles, the people that listened in that age where people were hip hop, R&B, and the stages of just like a lot of artists. And so we have to dive into your journey and let everybody know what impact you had. And so like, how do you, because when I knew about you, I was just out here listening to the radio, right? So I'm over here and I'm just like, okay, yeah, like I want to be a part of this radio station. And then all of a sudden I'm listening and I hear, yeah, Bigg Pwee, I'm going to be over here on La Cienega, and like rodeo is Obama now. And I hightail it over there. And there's a group full of people just waving, and I'm trying to get their attention and get your attention. And fast forward, you know, I'm in the same building you're in. And so how does that happen? How did you, what made you even get started on radio, and how did your journey start?
It's so funny, Woods, because our journey is almost similar. You know what I'm saying? I was going to college at Santa Monica College, and I was going there to play baseball. Once I got there, they canceled the program, so baseball was gone. So I had to find something else to do. And just so happened, you know, one of the legendary, iconic people you say that I'm gonna say that this brother was, when it came to the streets, was Corn Dog. Corn Dog was the biggest name on the streets. Him and P-Funk were the two big names out on the streets. And you talking about Obama Boulevard, used to be, rodeo,
Right.
where the warehouse music used to sit right there on Rodeo and La Brea.
Right.
I
Oh yeah.
I happened to go over there one day. Corn Dog was out there passing out t-shirts, giving away stuff. And I'm sitting there looking like, man, what was this dude? What is this dude doing? He had the crowd over here screaming. And back in the day, how we used to make him scream and then they make him scream. Then
Right.
So Corn was doing, I was like, this is like, what is this dude doing? And so, after he finished, I walked up to him. I said, hey, what's your name? What do you do? This is that and the other. He explained to me. And I was like, how do you get into something like this? He was like, you have to do internship, And I was like, I don't even know what an internship is. Like, what is an internship? He explained it to me. And, he was very patient, answering the questions that, that I was asking and stuff. And so there was like, out of sight, out of mind, going about my business. Next, another signing at the warehouse. Corn is back up there again. I'm
Right.
like, hold up. Like, let me really dive into this, because this looks a lot of fun here.
Right, right.
And so I was like, yo, explain to me again how this internship thing works. So he explained it to me, man. And I did the internship at Santa Monica College. I got in over at the Beat, and Dominique DePrima, who was the person that opened up the door for me. Her show at that time was called Street Science. She was the one that opened up the door for me, because promotion was full. They had nowhere else, they wasn't taking interns. So Dominique was like, let me interview this guy. And literally, again, I'm coming out of high school, going into college. I ain't never really did an interview. So my interviews was, so what's your name? Dot. Where'd you grow up? Dot. Like one word answers. Like, it's like, I'm sitting there like one word answers, and that's it. And she could tell I was a little nervous. And then after a while, she said, just relax. Just us just having a conversation. And you know how you go for an interview, you're uptight. You want to make sure you say the right things and this, that. You don't want to mess yourself up by saying the wrong things in the interview.
Right.
So next, she just goes, you know what? I see something in you. I'm going to give you a shot. I'm going to bring you on board and be part of Street Science. And that's really where it started. And then I was with her for 2 years. After those 2 years, a position opened up in the street team.
And so let's go back a little bit. So now you're on the streets, and the B, just to kind of give context, is like the biggest iconic station in Los Angeles. What's your feelings? And did you listen to Street Science prior to you getting the interview?
No.
Okay.
I had no idea about radio, no nothing. All I knew was seeing corn dog out on the streets, and that's what I wanted to do.
Right. You were like, okay, let me get it hype and get the party popping. And Street Science is this serious community-based space, and now you're being interviewed to be a part of this. What's going through your mind? What's going through your mind? Are you excited to be a part of the radio station? Are you kind of like discouraged, like, oh, this is not the space that I really wanted to be in this capacity?
That's funny, because I was actually kind of like, man, this is not where I wanted to actually be. I wanted to be in promotions, and Dominique came to me one day and just said, hey, I know that's where you want to be, but this is just an opportunity to open the door for you. You learn here, and then maybe if the position opens up over there, you can go over there.
And then what were you doing in the community action department? Like, what was your role? And for somebody that doesn't know nothing about the game, like, what were you doing, and what was that experience like?
I mean, the experience really helped me a whole lot, when it comes to, like, when you look at radio now, just you as being an on-air personality, you got to do your homework, right? You got to be on top of what's happening in the world, so that when you do your talk breaks, you have something to tie it to the song or whatever it may be, or tie it to something and make it entertaining. Being in community actions on Street Science gave me that opportunity to understand how to do the homework, how to do the research, how it makes sense, and then at the same exact time, being with her, and her show was all talk. So being able to watch somebody do talk radio and understand, like, how to do it, watch her cadence, watch how she transitions from one topic to the next topic, how she interviews people, how she even goes about studying the person that she's about to interview, going over their bio and research and all of that stuff helped me out to where I am at today.
And that's the thing that's so crazy, because it's just like the ties in the community part of LA is so important, especially when it comes to the politics of being successful on the streets and on the air. Did you start to develop relationships with people in a community based on being in a community action department from the beginning?
No, I didn't. It was just meeting these people, having the phone calls with these people, and the people just knew who I was because I was associated with Dominique in the show and the radio station.
Right.
That was about it. I didn't really get my fame until I actually hit the streets.
Okay, and then how did that happen?
It was opening up. Finally, Dominique, gave a little nudge to promotions, and it was like, well, since Dominique is asking, we'll bring him on. And got over there, and I'm gonna tell you the truth, B.Woods, I screwed it up.
How'd you fuck it up, Pee Wee? How did you mess it up? What did you do?
Yeah, you get over there, and now everybody is like, you become like a rock star out on the streets, and it goes to your head.
Okay, so even wait, so let's dive back a little bit, right? So Dominique puts you in this space to where you're in the promotions department, or you get that look to be in the promotions department, and so now you're here. So what's like the first few days? Is it like exactly like what you thought about with Corn on the streets?
Yeah.
Okay, so what
that was
happened?
the first thing that once I got over there, they put me out on the streets.
Well, do you remember your first event?
I was with Corn.
Okay, so what happened?
We hit the street. I don't remember what city we went to. We just did a regular van hit on a corner and gave away some stuff.
Okay.
And man, like just that vibe, that energy of being out there with Corn. And then on top of that, him doing the call in back to Theo. And then once he did that call in, all these people just started showing up. And it was just like that energy, the adrenaline started flowing. And it was like, man, this is what it's like. Oh, this is amazing. Like, are you kidding me?
And were you Pee Wee, or what did they call you? Okay, so yeah. So how do you even get the name Pee Wee? I don't even know that story.
So real quick, when the folks started showing up, Corn started, it was like, hey, this is, he was given by my real name.
Right.
And so then it was like, everybody was like, hey, how's it going? Oh my God, you're new. Oh, so then after that, like, the adrenaline was there. So I was like, oh, this is exciting. After this, I had left Santa Monica College, went over to Compton College to finish playing baseball. I was trying to be a walk-on. The coach at Compton College, when I was over there walking on, he goes, hey, Pee Wee, go get those balls over there. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what the hell is this dude talking to?
Right.
What are you calling Pee Wee, man?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I was like, hey, let me chill out because I'm trying to get on the squad. So whatever you want to call me, call me. So the guys on the squad started calling me Pee Wee. And then I remember going out with Corn, and you know how it was, B.Woods. Everybody on the street team had a nickname.
Right.
And I was trying to find my nickname. And me and Corn was trying to help me. And I said, Corn, I think I got it. Because I went from Sweet Pea.
Oh no.
Corn was like, nah, that's not
that ain't it. That ain't it.
He was like, pop. I was like, popcorn. He was like, nah, that's not it. That's not it. And I was like, man, I have no idea. And then it clicked. I said, yo, the guys on my baseball team calls me Pee Wee. And he goes, that's it. That's your name. And I was like, you like that? He was like, yeah, I like that. And I will never forget this day. This was a van hit that we went to out in the valley off of, I think it was near Northridge, off of Reseda in something. Okay. It was in the parking lot of a McDonald's that's over there in Reseda. I'll never forget because we were sitting in the van, and this is what we were talking about before the call in and the van hit got started. That was the day that I became Pee Wee.
That's crazy. And I couldn't imagine calling you Popcorn. I couldn't, I just couldn't be. I just like, yeah, there go my nigga Popcorn right there. Like it just wouldn't flow for me. You know what I mean? With the cheese on it, like no, it would. Yeah, it just would have been a whole thing. And so now you're Pee Wee, and so you're on a regular schedule. When does it get to the point to where people start to recognize you? And is Corn like putting you on the call-ins, and is he acknowledging you on the call-ins?
It started with that, and then I started going out with P-Funk in the morning time. So it was P-Funk and Delron in the morning. I like literally was doing my internship, doing street team, playing baseball, and going to school all at the same exact time.
That's
so
crazy.
I was juggling my time with P-Funk early in the morning time, going out with him. And then sticking around, going out on a van hit with Corn Dog, or I would go in the morning with P Funk and then go out on the van hit with PJ Butter. So I was just constantly grinding, going out on the street with them three. And so, and yeah, of course, during that time, they was like, yeah, we would all show love, when we did call-ins, to be like, yo, what up, Bigg Pwee in the building? I got B.Woods with me. We out on the street. We'd always show love like that. And so the name started to build. And of course, no doubt about it, and this goes back to where I started to screw it up. My head started to get big. And you knew how it was on the streets. We go out to an event, we pack, we set up, we break down. I always help set up. I was never around for the breakdown.
Right.
I was never around for the breakdown.
Right.
And I got in trouble because I would never help out. And so the committee as the street team, they were like, nah, he don't help. So they were like, we got to let him go. When my internship ended, got to let him go.
And were you getting support from the other people on the team, or was his management trying to get rid of you, or was there some hating going on in the mix?
No, it wasn't no hating. It was literally, yeah, he wasn't helping out. Like I couldn't even knock it. Like, nah, I wasn't helping. Like,
right.
Because I was off talking to chicks and doing all kind of other stuff.
Right, get it in. Yeah.
I just like, my head got big at that time, and I was just, they got it. They can finish breaking down. No big use. I'm Bigg Pwee over here, man.
Right,
like,
right.
They trying to holler at me. I'm trying to get numbers. Like,
you trying to get it in.
Yeah. So no, and then Bad Boy, Corn Dog, Johnny D, may he rest in peace, were the ones that kind of spoke up and was like, no, he's good. We need to, put him back on. Next, I got a phone call and I was back on, and Corn Dog, P Funk, all of them, everybody sat me down and had the conversation of, look, this is why they let you go. Don't let it happen again. We put our name out there. Don't make us look bad.
Right.
That was that last conversation they ever had to have with me. And after that, I was on beast mode. Like I was straight beast mode.
And that's the thing that's so interesting, because it's just like, I can talk to anybody that's a native from LA. They know you. They know you. Tell me about the experience is about how you went to the high schools, right? Because you are around the same age. Around what age were you when you were doing the street team? Because the people you went to the high schools with are adults now, and they've literally followed your radio career, and everybody kind of knows you from those days. And so what was that experience like, and how did that impact the game for you?
Well, with a lot of stuff, you try to find where there's a niche, right? Where there's an open market where you can kind of, plug yourself in. And this is where PJ used to go out on the streets, but he would only go to the high schools, to the schools, DJ, play music and stuff like that during like the lunchtime things or whatever. And then also he would do overnights. So when PJ finally left the streets and went strictly straight on air full time, me and PJ had a conversation, and he was like, yo, if you really want to tap in and make yourself bigger, the schools are where it's at. It's because these are the kids that when they get older, they graduate, they're going to be the ones that's out on the street seeing you, saying hello and this, that, and the other. He said, this is where you're going to get it from. He said, yeah, it's cool to go out with P-Funk and Corn Dog and stuff like that, but this right here is it. So then when PJ left to go full time, I put my bid in to take over the schools. Nobody else wanted to do it, so I took over the schools, and literally I did schools, and then I did van hits. Like I said, I went into beast mode, and I did schools, van hits, weekends. Like I was constantly out hitting the street, shaking hands, kissing babies, being like that politician, and just making a name for myself. And I just knew, going back to like Corn Dog, was being that nice person, being that person that people enjoy to be around you, and Corn put that in me. He instilled that in me. So when I hit the streets, that's what it was. So I made sure that every time I was out on the street, you was gonna have an epic moment with me.
And like for you, what was some of like the craziest moments that you've had on the streets, like whether it be summer jam or anything that really stands out for you? And it feels like you remember something, like it triggers something.
Oh man, like I mean, so there's two levels to it, right? So it was the level, there was the beginning level that was majorly big for me. Then there was a second level. I know we're going to get into this also because you brought him up earlier, is the Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey took it to a whole nother level. But the beginning piece of it, man, it was summer jam. It was like, again, going to certain schools, the energy from these kids and having fun and stuff like that. And the memories of the beat junkies when we used to do Friday nights, Saturday nights, and beat junkies in the studio DJing. Like those, I mean, we had so much fun. Live broadcasts with Theo, house party, John London in the house party and them. Like those things like meant a lot to me.
And that's the thing too, for you, there's a lot of artists like out here that I wouldn't say like owe their career to you or whatever, but the street presence was important. Like having the beat street team, to have Pee Wee give you a cosign on a call-in or whatever. I remember even being in Compton at the Warehouse shoe sale, and even Immature was there, and all these artists that were names like the Marcus Houston, the Brandons, Ray J's, that type of stuff. Who are some of the artists that plugged into you to make their career pop off?
The main one that I had hands on, oh man, nah, I gotta take that back. So hands on, the biggest name that everybody knows was Beyonce. Destiny's Child. When Destiny's Child touched down in Los Angeles, I was the first person that they was out with. And this was when, again, going back to schools, right? Because it was a gentleman named Dion where he did school tours. And I don't know if you remember this. So Dion would work with the record labels with new and upcoming artists, get them to come out, and he sets up all the equipment and everything, be a live performance from new artists at these schools. Destiny's Child was one of them. And this is the funniest thing, right? You look at Beyonce now, mega star, right?
Right.
But back then, Beyonce used to put up beat posters up in the school bleachers.
Are you serious?
Yeah. We used to, all of them, we used to walk around, like they would perform, and then there was a little downtime waiting for the second, crew of kids to come in for the second performance. By that time, again, remember, the beat was huge.
Right.
We would put posters up. People would take the posters down and take them home and save them and stuff like that. So then we would have to put up more posters. They would help me out putting posters up and stuff like that.
That's crazy. And so do you remember any conversations that you had with them, like Beyonce, and did she ever like talk about her trajectory or what she did, or she was what was those conversations like?
She wanted to be the biggest name in the industry, and that was her main goal, even with the group, it's like they just wanted to be a huge staple in music. That was their biggest thing. I remember 112 was another group that came out. Jagged Edge, Ray J, Immature. I mean, you name any artist that popped off in the 90s and early 2000s, we had them on the streets with us. You name it, it don't matter who it was. They was associated with us out on the streets, unless they were like that major star that popped off right off the bat. Then no, but the ones that built up to be like those major stars, even like Faith Evans was another one, but the main one that I had one-on-one building up was Miguel.
What happened with Miguel?
Miguel was the main one.
And Miguel is from out here, because I randomly I have pictures with him, and I remember him as a little kid. What happened with Miguel? And I got another Beyonce question too. Randomly, go ahead. So what happened with Miguel?
So gentleman, again, street promoter, his name was DJ Minus.
Okay.
DJ
Oh yeah, shout out to
Minus.
Minus. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of these record reps would, again, like you said, tap into us to get either product out on the street, and stuff like that into the consumer's hands. And so Minus came to me, he was like, yo, I know you're doing these school things. Can I get one of my artists that I'm working with to come out with you and perform? And I was like, yeah, like who's this artist? Like,
Right.
you
Right.
ain't gonna have no random person come out here and perform and they
Right.
horrible.
Singing,
Like,
singing something crazy.
so he was like, I'm gonna have you meet him. So he brought Miguel out to one of my van hits, and Miguel flat out, no hesitation, started singing. Like, you know how like we like, you meet an artist, you be like, all right, sing a little something for me.
Right.
And they be like, not him. It was like, yo, you ready? He was like, yeah, let's go. And went and started singing, and everybody in the crowd was like, I was like, Minus, he coming with me. Let's go. Let's make it happen. And we literally did taking Miguel school tour around. He was performing, singing the whole shebang. And then from there, he got to deal with Universal.
No kidding. And so that's just so impact. Do you ever talk to him? Do you ever talk about
every once in a while we run into one another? Yeah, absolutely.
And that's dope, because it was like you really have to build that energy. That's why I even like when I look at like cats like Nipsey, and it makes a huge difference to where when you get your stardom, when you do it on that level, like everybody's behind you because they remember you rocking, rolling on the streets. So going back to the Beyonce question, did you ever holler at Beyonce, and how'd that go?
Okay, so here's the funny thing.
I had to take it there. Shout out to Jay-Z. All right, go ahead.
Now again, yes, I did try to shoot my shot.
Okay.
But I think Kelly was feeling me. And so she kind of pushed me off to Kelly. And I was like, really, I wasn't like, I thought Kelly was cute. But like once you set your eyes on the one person, like you set on that person.
Right.
And so I was, and noticed like after a while, I was like, okay, this ain't gonna go nowhere. And it was like, okay, cool. After that, it was just solid. Everybody was cool. Everybody was friends. It was just, I shot my shot and crashed and burned.
That's hilarious. Beyonce was like, no.
I was like, yeah, shot you. Hey, that was a straight air ball.
Oh my goodness gracious. But at least you can tell the story. You can tell the story that you hollered at Beyonce and it didn't work out. Not everybody can do that, And so now your trajectory is crazy. So now you have these homegrown type of artists and they become mega stars. You're doing your thing on the streets. When did you, and then what's like the reception from like your family? Because at a certain point now, you're becoming a celebrity. So we're talking about an era where the internet wasn't popping the way it is right now. So everybody listened to this particular radio station. So what was the energy from like your family, your friends, and how did you feel yourself changing in the process of becoming Pee-wee?
And that's funny though, B, is because we got all our information from radio. We got music from radio. We got our entertainment news from radio. We got everything from radio. And it was, the Beat was one, Power 106, and Kiss FM. Those are the three major, and K-Rock.
Right.
K-Rock, Kiss, Power, the Beat, those are the main stations. That's where you got all your information, everything, And as they listen, everybody was like, oh, that's my cousin. Oh, that's my brother. Oh, that's my da. Oh, da. Hey, I heard you the other day, you were out on the street and this, that, and the other. Man, I'm so proud of you, this, that, and the other. And it's funny because like I even got family now that I grew up with. Don't call me by my real name no more. Like that's how impactful I feel that I was to people. Like literally, they don't even call me by my real name anymore.
I don't think I've ever called you by your real name ever. I really haven't. Like I've never said your name. I've always called you Pee-wee. It'd feel weird not to call you Pee-wee. And so now you're, you got this impact on the stations. And so how does this transition in being like an adult? Because now you've done the schools, now you in the clubs,
Ooh.
right?
And I
And how?
remember, I can tell you the very first time that I hit the club. I was
Okay.
18, 19. I was out with
Mm-hmm.
P-Funk in the City of Industry. It was a club that was right off the 60 freeway. And I was the very first club I ever went to because they wouldn't let me in. And
Mm,
P-Funk had to talk to like the promoter, the security guard, and they finally let me in.
right.
And of course, you like a kid in a candy store, you walk into a club and you see all these people, fine women everywhere. You like, oh my, this is what it's like. Are
Right.
I'm coming back every day. Like, this is where can I sleep here? Is this like this all the time?
Right.
Like, oh my God, yes, let's when are we coming back? Like, and so when that happened, it was kind of like, okay, let's tap into the older crowd now, because I got the younger ones. Let's tap into the older crowd. Let's start doing things at, again, clubs. I'm hanging out with P-Funk. I'm hanging out with Corn Dog, doing these clubs and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, they're transitioning away from this because they want to do other stuff. I filled the gap because I was that one that was really trying to fill their shoes, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Another dude that was doing the same thing, I know you remember Bad Boy. Bad Boy
Yeah.
was the other one. So it was
Mm-hmm.
me and him really going back and forth, but for some reason, like, I got the leg up and kept grinding. And, like, I'm not gonna say I outshined Bad Boy, but I got more recognition than him.
No, absolutely you did. Because if we tell the story of LA and we're being 100% honest, your name's going to come up as the face of the streets. It's going to be you, Corn, are going to be those folks. And so when it comes down to it, now you're a celebrity in Los Angeles. And when we talk about like street promotions now, it doesn't have the same impact, especially in
Oh,
today's, not in no way, shape, or form. And so for you, you're a celebrity now. You're a celebrity in Los Angeles. You've held down the schools. Your impact from having the face-to-face conversations with people know you now. What's that like for you?
I was it was really it was really scary because it got to a point, and it's like now I understand it. Like, it got to a point like I couldn't go anywhere. Like, anywhere I went, somebody was like, hey, can I take a picture? Oh, can I get an autograph? Hey, you got tickets? Where's the t-shirts? Like, it didn't matter where I went. Like, people knew me, people wanted something from me. And it became very overwhelming for a while, you
Mm,
know, until I had a conversation with Corn Dog. And Corn kind of sat me down and explained it to me. It was like, hey, this is what it is now, and you got to embrace it. And he kind of gave me some good word of advice. And from there, like, literally, it kind of calmed me down. But I mean, it's still overwhelming. Even still to this day, man, I go out about him, just like the other day, I was out at Home Depot and getting something at Home Depot, and this lady walked up to me. She says, I know who you are. I was like, okay, hey, how's it going? She says, I know who you are. I said,
that
oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I mean,
You
that's
know?
dope, because the energy is just, it's so crazy, because it's all love. And it's
Mm-hmm.
and it's different in LA, especially like here, to be known about to be known as somebody to get love out here, because because we know what it's like to get hate out here. It's a different energy.
Ooh,
Like,
talk to
it's
me.
like you got sleeper cells when you out here in LA. The pull up is for real. So to be known as somebody to get love out in LA, it's a special feeling for you. Now that you got this love, when did you start getting the itch or the bug to really start messing with being on an on-air personality?
I kind of felt like, man, like, I'm seeing everybody transition. Corn Dog's transitioning to on air. P Funk was trying to transition to on air. Bad Boy, Eric Obici, like, all of these people that I came up with was transitioning to be on air. And I was like, man, like, and I'm not, again, no disrespect, but I was like, man, my name bigger than them. I could be on there.
Right, right.
Like, and so I started working towards it. And
Mm.
Scorpio, who's the program director at the time, said, hey, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to run the boards. And I was like, all right, cool. So I would go overnights with PJ, and PJ was the one that taught me how to run the board. And
Mm.
so since I got the stamp from PJ was cool with Scorp, they would talk. And Scorpio finally gave me the opportunity to just board op shows. And then at that time, I started doing my air check tape. Tawala Sharp used to help me with my air check tape. Finally got my air check tape together. And then, I mean, man, I'm gonna tell you, 2 years. It was 2 years of working on that air check tape before Scorpio gave me a shot on air. And he did, it was weekend. I think it was like weekends at like 10 a.m. in the morning. He gave me my first shot of cracking the mic. And
And
from
was this before Steve Harvey or after Steve Harvey?
this is way before Steve Harvey.
Okay.
Yeah, this is way before Steve Harvey.
And so take me back to that. So now, you've been on the streets, and Scorpio finally gives you the green light to be on the air. What's going through your mind, and what's that first shift like?
Like, you know how it is, B.Woods. Your first shift of cracking the mic, like, you nervous as all outdoors. You just want to make sure you do a good job and you hitting what you're supposed to hit. You don't have no dead air, none of that stuff. Like, you in there sweating bullets, because this is finally your opportunity, and you don't want to mess it up. But at that moment in time, like, I was on cloud nine. I was literally on cloud nine because, one, I was still out on the streets and everybody knew who I was. Now I finally cracked a mic, and those same people that didn't know who I was, that might have heard my name from somebody, now hears me in their radio, in their speaker, and then I felt like it became magnified once I got on air. And that's where it goes back to having that conversation with Corin. It was just, man, now anywhere and everywhere I go, people were like, Pee Wee, oh, that's Pee Wee, Pee Wee, Pee Wee. Oh, Pee Wee, come to my restaurant. Pee Wee, come to my store. Pee Wee this, Pee. And it was just, I just literally became that staple in LA after that.
And so now you're on the air and you're doing the weekend shift. How long are you doing that shift for?
I did that shift for maybe about 2 years, 3 years. Yeah. Float a while, and it wasn't consistent. He would rotate like Kobichi, he would rotate Bad Boy, he would rotate all of us. So it's just like we got in where we fit in.
And then you're doing the shift and you're still on the streets doing your thing. And then at a certain point, you get to Steve.
Well, before I get to Steve, I left Los Angeles.
Okay, so what happened with that?
I left Los Angeles to go up to San Francisco. One of my buddies who, again, being in this business, you meet people here and there. And buddy that I met, he was the program director at KMEL up in San Francisco. He goes, hey, I put you on part-time on the weekends, and then I give you the overnight shift. So I'm gonna give you the overnight shift and you can do part-time on the weekends. And I was like, I'm all in, because the B wasn't giving that to me.
Right.
So I was like, this is my opportunity to grow. I could do overnights. I could do overnights and I could do weekends straight on air. I was like, cool, let's make it happen.
Right.
So went up north, left Los Angeles, went up north. I was up there for about 6 months. The program director gets fired.
Oh, damn.
So then you know what happens next. The next person he brings in is the person that gets fired too. So now I'm out of a job. And so now, panic mode comes in, because it's like, okay, I just left LA, I left here, and I don't have a job here. How can I? And again, I tell people this all the time, never burn bridges, leave on a good note. And so I was able to call back to the beat and get my job back on the street team. And so when I did that, just a couple months later, at Dr. Dre, Ed Lover, they brought them on. and they wasn't doing too well. They went on vacation. They brought in Steve Harvey to fill in for them. Steve knocked it out the park, straight home run when he filled in for him. So the
Right.
station was like, "Oh, you're our guy. Let's negotiate this. Let's make this happen." When Steve finally came in, Steve was like, "I need a team around me," because it was only Steve. He was like, "I need a team around me," And so they put a team around. And when they started putting the team around, I was like, "Yo, can I hit the streets for you?" And him and Rashawn, who was his manager at the time, Rashawn was like, "Nah, I don't think we're gonna need that." So then they kind of pondered on it for a little while. And then next you know, Scorpio gave me the call and was like, "Yo, we're gonna put you out on the streets for Steve Harvey."
Oh, wow.
When I did that, when I tell you B.Woods, it was like it was on steroids. It
Like,
was like it was nothing like you could ever see before. Like this being on the Steve Harvey morning show on the streets was like on a whole nother level.
what are some of the specific experiences that you remember that you can share?
Like, of course you learn a lot just from him, one. But when it came to him stepping into them shoes of being the new morning time person in Los Angeles, he was about the community, giving back to the community, doing things for the community, holding people accountable, especially, council people, people running for office and stuff like that. He would hold them accountable. He would talk about the things that were going on in the city that needed to be fixed, And so you learned a lot from him, just on the business, right? But the fact that he was such a big name celebrity, comedian, doing radio, all of Los Angeles was tapped in. Everybody was listening.
And so what was it like for you on the streets in that time when you say it was on steroids? Like what was it like? Like when you went somewhere, like what was it like?
200 people will show up.
Okay.
Like 200 people. Steve would just say, "Hey, Pee-wee's over here. Go meet up with him." 200 people. People waiting for you. Before you even pull up, they wait.
And you're by yourself with 200 people?
I first started off by myself. And then I had told Scorpio, because you've had him on your show, Cat Dog.
Yeah.
Cat, me and Cat that's my man, my ace, my road dog. I said, "Yo, Scorp, I need help out here. It's way too many people. I need somebody to help me." And he was like, who do you want?" I was like, "Cat. Let Cat start coming out with me." And then next me and Cat hitting the streets, man. But when I say it was on steroids, it was just the fact that when you look at when Steve Harvey cracked the mic, everybody was listening. Everybody was tapped into every word he was saying. So if he said jump, people was jumping. People said, "Meet me over here," people would come and meet over there. Like whatever Steve said at that moment, people was holding on to his every word. So like when me and Cat would hit the streets again, before we even showed up to a spot, or when we got there, there were people already there. I'm just imagine being out on the streets and you got 200 people in front of you, 300 people in front of you, and now you are doing your thing, giving your stuff away and everything like that. It's just like, it was bigger than life.
And how long were you guys out there when you have 200 people? And how do you tap in with everybody? And are you seeing people that you saw like from the high schools and
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. People, grandparents, moms, dads, you name it, was showing up trying to get tickets. And of course, during that time, we were giving out the prime tickets, to concerts and events and stuff like that. So of course, people were showing up to get these free tickets, and then how it was back in the day. Beat t-shirts, they were just a prize on its own.
Yeah, that was like $500 up top. Like, yeah, you got a Beat t-shirt, you were in the game. You can go to a 5-star restaurant and cover it with a Beat t-shirt. You already know. That's just the way it was. And but 200 people too, there's a lot of knuckleheads out here in LA too. Like, how did, with no security and 200 people, did you have any crazy incidents or anything like that?
Nah, me and Kat never had any crazy incidents. You know, that I remember, I don't. Like, but
Right,
everybody was cool. Everybody
right.
was chill. And I think because again goes back to Steve,
Mm-hmm.
how he portrayed himself to be on air
Mm-hmm.
was the same way people were acting out on the streets.
Right, right,
You know, nobody was acting up. Nobody was,
right.
you know, and me and Kat put on a show for folks, man.
Yeah.
You know, we made it entertaining for folks to be out there and having fun. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it wasn't like you just came out here and we just gave away stuff and then you went on about your way. Like we made a show out of this.
Right.
And people walked away having fun, laughing, you know, happy that they came out, you know, that they spent their morning drive with us, or they're on their way to work with us, or whatever it may be, you know, like they enjoyed that from me and Kat.
And what were some of the perks from being in that
Come
space?
on, B.Woods, knock it
Oh, you
off.
know, what were some of the things that
Knock it
what
off,
was it
B.
like? What were some of the good things you got from being in that space?
I mean, one, we got everything for free.
Okay.
It didn't matter
Okay.
what it was, food, clothes, you name it, it was for free. We didn't, me
Hmm.
and Kat didn't have to spend a dime of nothing, you
Right.
know. But hey, when it came to the ladies, I didn't have to spit no game.
Mm.
Like they were spitting themselves.
Yeah.
I didn't have to say, hey, nothing. Hey, what's your name?
And they were hollering at you, and the thing is, I knew it too, because it was like when I was like super wet behind the ears, and I
Oh
was
yeah, I
just,
remember you coming in.
oh my God. Like I said, I told Kat same thing. I was Motown Philly Dan. I I looked like I was trying to win the Steve Urkel lookalike contest, but it was just I remember even going out with you, and I was so intimidated, like, but y'all made me feel comfortable. But at the same time, even going back to the ladies, like we would go to different cities and they'd be posted up waiting for you, and I would just be like, what is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
It was like for real, like in any city, Torrance, Riverside, Orange County, and I would even remember you would be called before you even got on to hit the road. It was just like you would have your little your schedule with the itinerary, and then you'd have the social itinerary of the shooby doobies.
Yeah, because we knew we had them in each city.
Yeah.
Like we knew, like if we went to this city, we knew who was going to show up in
Mm-hmm.
this city. You know, yeah, it was. I mean, it was interesting, man. It was
And did
very
you get any
interesting.
like weird energy because you were getting so much attention from anybody in the building?
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
what was that like? What was the politics like of that, the hateration, holleration? Because people like you getting women, people shouting you out, this, that, and the other. You Pee Wee. What was that like?
You know how it is, B, in this industry, man. You have people that are quiet, jealous people, and they have the ear of either, the program director or the promotion director or whoever it may be, right? And they're like, oh, he's doing too much. Oh, I heard this, or I heard that, this, that, and the other. And, these are the things that are going on behind closed doors of people talking about you. And then when you get back from a van hit, or you out at a van hit, or you at a live remote or whatever it is, and then you just chopping it up with the program director, or Scott, who was the promotion director. When you just chop it up with them, then the little things that they would say, you'd be like, where'd you get that from?
Mm-hmm.
But then you find out there was somebody in the office that was just either jealous or upset that, of the hard work that I think I put in. They didn't think I deserved it.
Mm. And did you ever have to confront anybody about that? Check them.
Nah, I never had to confront. I just let my work speak for itself,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
And that was the biggest thing, because you guys were, the faces of the streets. Tell me about, and I want to get back to Steve too, but just because you were such a part of like the concert experience of Summer Jam, and your vision of or your experience at Summer Jam was so unique. What's some of the stuff that you remember from Summer Jam that we just don't know? And just to give you an idea, Summer Jam is the concert where every big artist will come to LA, you talk from Biggie to Aaliyah to all the major names, and everybody would get assigned positions. And since you had seniority at the station, what was your experience like at Summer Jam? Do you remember anything that like really that stands out?
Well, during that time, nobody, well, the only seniority I was able to have was my job. But like we all was all in the same boat. Everything, we all had to do the same thing, especially when we were at the hotel, right? And we had to wake up 2-3 o'clock in the morning just to get to Irvine Meadows and start setting up.
And before you say setting up wasn't just setting up. I remember we had to build this big ass stage and truss with hammers and belts. We looked like we were building pyramids out there.
And don't forget the inflatable.
And you had a big ass inflatable. Like this wasn't regular work. We looked like day laborers. Like it was a hot ass mess. Like to the point where I remember Erica had to call HR to say that they were even giving us over. It was crazy. Yeah. It was crazy. Like we were for real building like a commercial building when we went out there to Summer Jam. So you out there, you working, and so yeah, keep it pushing.
And so we get out there, we're setting up and stuff like that, and I remember, like, again, putting in the hard work. I actually had the opportunity of having my own section, at Summer Jam. It was like Pee Wee's Playhouse. It was at the top of the hill because it was the stage, the seats, and then the grass area. And then at the top of the grass area, we had Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Oh, that's sick.
And so we had different, food vendors and different activities and stuff like that was up there. And, it was just fun. But like you said, every artist, 90s, from the 90s to 2000, man, when Summer Jam was going on, it doesn't matter what artist, biggest to the smallest, hit the Summer Jam stage until the gangbangers and stuff like that.
Yeah, what was that like? Well, tell that story, because like that's one of the reasons like I want to do this podcast, because there's so many stories that are kind of like hearsay. What happened that day? Like what exactly?
That was
happened
2 days. Well, 2 events. Two Summer Jams.
Tell me that story just so I can kind of like have like what happened, because I kind of know, but it's kind of fuzzy. So what happened?
Well, it was over a period of time.
Okay.
So gangbangers started to come to Summer Jam, and they were up on the line, and that's when fights used to break up out on the line.
Okay.
And that was one of the reasons why they put Pee Wee's Playhouse up there, thinking that it'll stop. The fun would stop.
They like you gonna stop the ratchetness.
Didn't happen.
Okay.
At the end of the day, fights still broke out. Gangbangers, you had Bloods and Crips and all in the same area, and so after a while, they was like, why we up here on this lawn when we can go down there and sit them seats? Them seats ain't nobody in them seats down there. And during that time of Summer Jam, everybody would get there hella early, and it'd be like a long line outside of Summer Jam. Right. And so, because everybody was rushing to get to a good spot up on the lawn.
Right.
People that had seats didn't get there until later on in the afternoon or evening or whatever it was. That's when they got there. So the gangbang was already there, and they were like, yo, why we up here, not down there? So they would get a gang of them, come down, and security there, what they gonna do to like
nothing.
15, 20 of them?
Right.
Let them go on by and sit in them seats. And so when they sat in those seats, they started harassing the people around. And so then fights broke out there. And that's how it kind of got started. Then the next year, they did the same exact thing, but they brought more people. Then, either Crips brought more people, Bloods brought more people, and now here it is, the biggest fights breaking out. And the first year that it was like major, it was Ice Cube and them hitting the stage.
Okay.
It was a West Side Connection, Ice Cube hitting the stage. And that's when they hit the stage, ran through the back VIP area of the stage, and all of that stuff. That was the first time.
Oh, okay.
This next year, this was, I think, was Grape Street and somebody else.
Right.
Same exact thing, but it set off when LL Cool J hit the stage, and he had a red bandana on. hitting the stage. And they were telling L, you can't wear this type of stuff, this, that, and the other. L was like, oh, LL Cool J, I can do, ain't nobody gonna trip, da 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 da. And so L came out there, started ruffling in the seats. Next, fight breaks out, and L still trying to perform while the fighting is going on. And then finally they yank him off the stage. Now the fight is brewing even more. A1 tries to come to the stage to calm everybody.
And A1 and to get an idea, because A1 is super positive, like he think that he's like a scout, and so he thinks that he can calm down anything. So A1 hits the stage, and what happens?
Hits the stage, he's trying to calm people down, and they're not hearing what he's saying. Next, they hit the stage. And now A1 is about to get bum rushed. And I think security grabs him and yanks him off the stage. And then everybody literally is running from all areas of Summer Jam, from backstage to the front to everywhere. Fights is breaking out everywhere in the concourse area where the inflatable is at, where the stage at, where we built and stuff like that. Fight is going everywhere. And that was like the last time that like literally the fight, that was like the epic major one that everybody was like, oh, I ain't going back to Summer Jam again.
Yeah, that's the one that I remember. And I always remember that part. There's always two elements to that story, LL Cool J and A1.
Yeah.
LL Cool J was the spark. A1 was the fire.
Yeah. A1 was like, come on, guys.
Come on, guys. Everybody can be peace.
He's like, get your big ass self off the stage, man.
Hilarious.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, you were doing your thing out there and crazy moments like that. So now, Steve, so now you out, you and Kat are out with Steve, and how does that process move you into the studio?
So when they built the team around Steve, they started doing like the Harvey's Angels. Because I don't know if you remember, they were casting to have Harvey's Angels. Because again, he said he wanted, some members around him.
Right.
And he wanted all females. So they started casting for Harvey's Angels. Ended up getting the job with Shirley Strawberry, Nautica De La Cruz, and Dominique DePrima. Those are the three angels. And then Hollywood, who was the producer, he was running the board. That lasted for some years. They got rid of Hollywood and put Nautica behind the board. And then Nautica was running the board, also being part of the show and everything like that. And then from there, when Nautica said, hey, I want to break off from the Harvey show, I want to start doing my own thing, do middays, because it opened up, they were like, we need to find somebody to run the board. Of course, I put my hand in the hat to run the board. And so they took me off the streets. I started running the board, and it was just strictly just running the board, nothing else.
Right.
They made it very clear, do not crack the mic.
Right.
You are strictly here just to run the board and run the board only, nothing else. And so then that's when Kat took over on the streets. So I was running the board, Kat was out on the streets. They brought Hollywood back. And then when they brought Hollywood back, then it became, you go back to the Hayden part. Hollywood wanted to be part of the show. He was so it was the tug of war between me and him of running the board, playing the music and everything like that. And then, so then after that happened, just one day, Steve cracked the mic and said he was playing some song. And I was like, that song's all right. And he was like, what? You know how he was so passionate about his old school music.
Right.
I was like, that song's, yeah. He was like, you got to be kidding me. Da 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 da, yada, him going off on a rant. And he was like, then what's your favorite song? And I said, Jay-Z Big Pimpin', that's my favorite song. And he said, play it right now. So I played it in the studio. And he was like, are you serious? This bull crap. This is your favorite song? Man, you got to be kidding me. We was in the middle of a break. By the time we came back from a break, you know how Steve is. Whatever's on his mind at that moment in time is what he gonna talk about when he opened up the mic again.
Right.
And that's what it was like, you guys ain't gonna believe this. Off air, me and da 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 da. We was talking about da 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 da. You know, and he was like, "What's your favorite song again?" And I'm sitting in front of the mic like, I'm not saying a word.
Right.
They was very clear not to crack this mic. I'm not
Right.
saying a word.
Right.
And he was like, "It's okay. You can talk. I'm giving you permission to talk. You can talk. Go ahead." And I'm sitting there like, man, this dude's about to get me in major trouble. And so then Hollywood goes, "Go ahead, crack the mic." Because at this moment, it's looking very bad for radio that he's talking to me and I'm not saying anything back. You know, so Hollywood's like, "Just say something. Go ahead and crack the mic." Rashawn runs in there. It's like, "Here, crack the mic. It's okay. He's talking to you. Say something." So then I finally cracked the mic and I was like, "Yeah, Jay-Z Big Pimpin'." And then he goes, "Play it." And I was like, "Dude, you know I can't play this song. Like, you know it." And so Rashawn comes around the board and hits the button and it plays.
Whoa.
And I let it play like up into the hook and I brought it down. And Steve was like, okay, play. And I think it was Love Holiday because that was his favorite song. He goes, "No, play my song, Love's Holiday." And so I played it until it got to the hook and pulled it back down. That's when I say me as a celebrity in Los Angeles went to the next level is because Steve and I made a bit out of old school music, new music. And it was a bit that we kept going back and forth through the show for like almost a year. And people loved the bit because it was literally old school versus new school.
Right. And what was the reception going back to that first time you did it? So now you terrified, and then so now you have to deal with, you got the love in the studio, so now you got to hit these hallways. What was that like? And then what happened?
So Scorpio pulls me to the side and he goes, "Yo, I know what happened and I know what we told you. Just make sure it doesn't happen again." And I said, "Yo, got to talk to Steve and Rashawn." "All right, I'll talk to him." So he talks to him. Somewhere in there, Steve and Rashawn says, "Yo, we want to put him part of the show because his bit has become really big and people are enjoying it. And if he can't talk, it defeats the purpose." They agreed to it, but they knew that once I cracked the mic, they got to come with the contract. They got to come with the contract.
Right.
And so they did not, that was the biggest thing that they did not want to do was break off the contract. And so Steve and Rashawn forced their hand. They hit the contract. And when I tell you, B.Woods, you know, at a 20-year-old making that much money was just mind blowing. Like you can't, like, how do you, like, couldn't comprehend making that much money.
That's so interesting because, and so it wasn't because they didn't want you to crack the mic because you weren't talented or you didn't have anything going or nothing like that. They just didn't want to pay you.
Yeah, they didn't want to pay me. That's because crazy. They knew this is morning show. And if I am a regular on the morning show, and that's when the union was really big back then for radio. Radio now, unions are not as big and supportive as much anymore. But back then, huge. And they knew that they had to deal with the union if they didn't come with the contract. And so, yeah, they finally had to break bread.
And then at that point, so corporate is on your head after that, right?
Because now they're trying to make sure they keep me in check. They knew they couldn't keep Steve in check. They couldn't do Shirley. They couldn't do Dominique because they're vets in the game. I'm the newbie. So of course, you know how it is being the newbie. You know, they gotta regulate somebody.
Right.
You know, and so I was that person. But I didn't really trip because, again, like I said, I was making this much money and my head was like, man, whatever you guys want me to do, I'll do. Like, I'm not trying to rest up all this money.
Right. And so now you're on the air. You're part of the morning show of Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you go back, we go back. You were just playing, you were trying to play baseball. You meet Corn Dog in at Rodeo and Obama. You're doing street hits, and now you're on the morning show. So this is huge for you. So tell me about the experience of you on the Steve Harvey morning show. A lot of times, like, I wasn't up that early, so I didn't really hear a lot of it. But when I talk to people, just everybody, they're like, "Yeah, I remember Pee Wee on the morning show." What was that experience like for you?
I mean, it was the same. It meant a lot. That you work your career to crack the mic. And now you crack the mic, but you're on the biggest stage in radio. Is the morning show. Your morning show is the big stage of radio.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, I finally made it. I made it to, what I was working so hard for, and it just got to a point that, like, yeah, you still constantly had haters because everybody was like, he shouldn't be there. He doesn't need to be there. He should still be out on the streets, type deal.
Right.
But Steve and Rashawn, they fought to keep me on the show, even though they didn't want me to be on the show.
Right. And then at that point, so what happens? At some point you leave the show, and how does that happen?
So how I left the show, Steve and Rashawn started to do a talent showcase at the El Rey Theater. And they said, okay, this is when the neighborhood awards or the hoodie awards started to come in.
Right.
And Steve was like, yo, we're going to do a talent show, and whoever wins the talent show is going to open up at the hoodie awards. So it was a group called, oh man, I can't even remember the name, the Bushwhackers or something like that.
Right.
I can't even remember the name of it. I know it's something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They won. Steve got him in the studio, recorded a song for him and all this other stuff. After they recorded the song, Steve was like, yo, we're going to play it on the air. Steve didn't get clearance from anybody to play this on the air.
Right.
And so Steve brought it, the manager brought it in. Steve was like, yo, we're going to play it. And I played it. I didn't ask no questions, no nothing. Steve said, play it. I played it.
Mm-hmm.
So then after I got off air, Scorpio pulls me into the office and was like, yo, who gave you the okay to play that song? I was like, Steve, Rashawn. He was like, yo, they don't have the okay to be playing songs. You should know better than that. And Scorpio got in my behind. He was like, we can't have this conversation again of you playing a song that's not scheduled to play or got cleared by me. And so I told Steve, I told Rashawn, and I think that was I shouldn't have done that.
You shouldn't have played the song. You shouldn't have talked to Steve.
I shouldn't have never talked to Steve.
Okay.
Like playing the song, it was the mistake. Yeah, I didn't know. I made the mistake. And Scorpio didn't really, he got on me, but it wasn't where he was like, I got suspended or I didn't get written up or anything like that.
Right.
It was just a good lashing,
Right.
And so I messed up because I shouldn't have never went back to Steve or Rashawn and told them what Scorpio said. I should have just left it at is. But I was like, I'm going to say something to him because I don't want you guys to do it again. And then you realize I can't play the song.
Right.
And then you guys looking at me crazy why I can't play it.
Right.
So if you know Steve, during that time, Steve was like, ain't nobody going to tell me what to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. You can't tell me what to do. I'm going to do it. And so he made it a point during the show again to say, hey, we're playing the song again. And I was like, Steve, I can't play the song. And this is live on air, B.Woods, live on air.
Right.
He's like, play the song. I said, Steve, I can't play the song. Why you can't play?
Wait, so are you guys having this conversation on the air?
On the air. This is live on the air.
So you guys are having a corporate conversation on the air. Okay, so you guys are going back and forth, and then what happens?
Then Rashawn runs in the studio, and Rashawn's like, just play the song. Steve is telling you play the song. Play the song. And I'm like, Rashawn, I cannot play this song or I'm gonna get in trouble.
This is like a bad episode of Black Mirror. Like this is
like literally, this is live on the air.
Mm-hmm.
And so Steve goes, I'll play the songs that you too scared to play. So I'll play the song, and ain't nobody gonna tell me that I can't play the song, this, that, and the other. Steve got up from his seat, came across the board, and hit the button and played the song.
That's good.
Next you know, show's over with. I get called into the office again. Scorpio now has Mary Catherine on the phone. I'm in Scorpio's office. Mary Catherine's on the phone.
Who's Mary Catherine?
Mary Catherine was with Radio 1, and she was she was head of like programming for all of Radio 1 stations.
Okay.
Like, I think it went Mary Catherine to Steve Hagwood. That's like kind of was like the pecking order. And so Scorpio was like, I told you not to play the song. Who told you to play the song? And then I was like, I didn't play the song. Steve got up and came in. He's like, your responsibility is to run the board. I was like, I am running the board, but I can't. What was I supposed to do? Push the dude out the way? Like, then Mary Catherine comes in and was like, okay, I've heard enough. This is unacceptable. This, that, and the other. Then I got suspended. I got suspended. And then I got suspended. And then I went to Steve and him and told him, like, yo, you guys just got me suspended, dude. Like, this is what just happened because I told you I couldn't play it. This is that and the other. Like, I just got suspended from you guys. Steve and Rashawn goes down to what's her name? I forgot her name. She was in sales and she became the GM. Sue Freund.
Okay.
Remember, she became general manager.
Right.
So Scorpio, Sue Freund, and Mary Catherine is all on the phone in her office with Steve and Rashawn. Whatever happened. I go in now, and me and Steve and Rashawn cross each other. We literally cross each other going, because they coming out, I'm going in. And I was like, yo, what happened? Am I okay? This is that and the other. What's going to happen? And they're like, oh, you good. Don't worry about it. You solid. We squared it away. So I was like, okay, cool. Bet. I go in, I sit down, and they go, we told you not to play the song. You played the song. This goes against all of, the rules that we have here in programming as a station, this, that, and the other. You had the conversation with your program director, And it's like, do you have anything to say? And I was like, no, I mean, Steve played the song. I didn't. It was like, well, their job is to make sure that you run the board, and none of this is supposed to happen like this. I was like, then they was like, you're fired.
What?
I went from being suspended to being fired. all in just a few hours.
And what's going through your mind right now?
I'm thinking Steve just said everything is cool. So how did it go from everything is cool to me being fired? Like, I was so confused and I was hurt. And then when she said I was fired, now I'm trying to plead my case. I'm like, how is this happening? This is this, that, and the other, And they're like, well, we gave you the opportunity to plead your case and you didn't have anything to say. And this is the conclusion that we came up with. And it was just like, you got to be kidding me. And so when I leave out the meeting of getting fired, I call Steve. No answer.
Oh shit.
I call Rashawn. No answer. Like, they low-key ghosted me.
What?
Ghosted me. Yeah. Straight ghosted me. Finally, I talked to Rashawn. And Rashawn was like, yo, I'm gonna work on it, getting you back, and this, that, and the other,
How long was it before you got a chance to talk to Rashawn?
It might have been about a week.
Oh god damn.
Yeah, it was about a week. So yeah.
And did they have to pay you out for the contract?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And so
I
now,
was cool, but again, now I'm out of a job.
right. And so now what's going through your mind? Do you feel like Steve did you dirty, or what's your thought process? The station did you dirty? Because you're obviously in a weird space, because you have corporate, they don't want to pay you, you know what I'm saying? Optics wise, these are white folks, you know what I'm saying? Optics wise, right? Now you have Steve supposedly having your back. He says he have your back, ain't answering your phone calls. In all honesty, you're doing what you're supposed to do. You have this commitment to not just this, but this is your passion, this is your dream. From an emotional state, like what's going through your mind?
I mean, in my mind, I was spiraling because I couldn't wrap my head around, like, why would this happen? Why would he do this to me? Why won't he answer the phone? Why can't he give me an explanation of what happened? And finally, like I said, I finally talked to Rashawn, and Rashawn was just like, oh, don't worry about it. We're going to get you back on. They never talked to Rashawn again. And I called Steve, I called Rashawn. Finally, Terrence, who was Steve's security, finally answered the phone and was like, boss man has been real busy. He got you. He saw that you've been calling. He's going to call you later. Never heard from him. Never heard from him. So then from there, I was just like, okay, I guess this is part of the business. Because then now you're talking to other people that's in the business and stuff like that. And now you're trying to get back in. So you're talking to folks, and it just comes down like, finally, okay, this is part of the business. This is how, as people would say, this is how some people get shitted on,
Wow.
and this is what happened. And from there, I got a phone call from Chris Lose. And Chris Lose said, hey, I got an opening that we about to start up a new station here in Los Angeles, and I want you to be part of it. And from there, rebirth of a new career.
And the station was K-Day.
It was K-Day. Uh-huh.
And that's crazy, because so have you talked to Steve to this day?
So I've ran into Steve. So when I got over to K-Day, we were running just strictly just board. There was no talking, just straight board. Then finally they opened it up and started cracking the mic. I did every shift at K-Day during that 93.5. When it first started, I did every shift, from morning show, midday, afternoon, overnight, you name it, I started doing it. Then I started doing morning show. So it was me and a couple other people strictly just doing morning show. And then they brought Steve Harvey morning show over.
Oh, smack.
And so when they brought
That's
Steve Harvey,
right. That's right.
so when they brought Steve Harvey morning show over to K-Day, he was doing the Hoodie Awards. That was the first time I saw him. It's because now K-Day is part of the Hoodie Awards. And so we went down to Vegas for the Hoodie Awards. And this was the first time I saw him in like years. And when I saw him, he was like, oh well, let me back up. So his response when he saw me is because now this is when he was leaving the beat. He was leaving the beat to start his own syndication. On his last day, he was all Pee-wee, my man. I miss him so much. I wish he could still be part. He was giving his big sob story on air. And it was like, my dude, you ain't talked to me in years. And now all of a sudden it's like, woe is me. I'm your boy. This, that, and the other. Like, really? So fast forward, now we meet up in Vegas. And now I got a chip on my shoulder. Because I'm like, you did me foul. You did this whole spiel of, I'm your man, and you was looking out and this, that, and the other. And the station did me wrong. Yeah, the station did me wrong, but you did too. So I had a chip on my shoulder. So when I finally saw him, he was at the crap table, and his security was Terrence and Boom. Those were two dudes that were always with him, Terrence and Big Boom. And I saw them, hey, Boom, what's up, Terrence? We sitting there talking. He on a crap table. And then he stopped on the crap table, Boom taps him. He's like, yo, Pee-wee's here. He turned around and he was like, oh, Pee-wee, my man. Now, mind you, he's a celebrity. So everybody at the crap table, everybody around him, and oh, Pee Wee, my man, this is that and the other. And he went in to give me a hug. And I was like, nah, bro. I was like, I said, me and you got to have a conversation, Steve. I said, how this all went down was foul. So we got to have a conversation. And he was like, oh, we're going to talk, this, that, and the other. And of course, we never talked. He went on about his business, never talked. Now, mind you, I've seen Steve 3 more times after that. Won't say a word to me.
Yeah, that's insane. That's and so so there is no more relationship with you and Steve Harvey, not at all.
No. The one thing I mean, and I'm a good person, and I'll be honest with you, Steve has a good heart. Steve is a good person. You know what I'm saying? Because when I hung around Steve, I saw that in him. You know what I mean? But the way he did me and the way that he acted after the fact was foul.
Right.
So after that, I was kind of like, I'm cool.
Yeah.
Like I'm good.
And so at this point, so now that happened, and so what's your understanding of folks in the industry now? Are you more hesitant to kind of build relationships with folks, and what's that, and how does that transition going into K-Day?
It wasn't the fact that I was hesitant to build relationships. I just held things close to the vest now of not telling people, because I was very vulnerable. I was still young. Like you said, I was wet behind the ears. You was wet behind the ears, so was I, especially being in this position. So now I'm in a position that I'm holding everything close to the vest. I'm not really opening up, and I'm not really talking, and telling people a whole lot of stuff. I'm just literally just going there, doing my job, and getting up out of there.
Right.
And so, that's how I was at K-Day. Went in, did my job, and that was it. K-Day was at that time was still going through the roller coaster, because they was trying to figure out, what direction they were going in and how they were going to do this and this, that, and the other. So it was like, it was still a roller coaster for a few years, and Chris Los was, he was behind it all, trying to figure it out too. And of course, being a program director, you got people above you that's making decisions, and you can only do so much, you know what I mean? But, it got to a point that I had to leave K-Day. And when I left K-Day, I went over to KGLH.
And so you left K-Day, and we had some good times at K-Day. I remember doing Club 740, and we would just get hammered on the air.
That is the club. I could not remember the name. Club 740. Oh my
God. We're gonna talk about KGLH. We gotta dive back into Club 740, because they would have the shift would either be me and you, or me. I just remember me and you, we would do the shift at the 740. It'd either be like 10 to 2. It was like 7 to 10, and then 10 to 2, and somebody do the early, somebody do the late. And at the time, I didn't even drink like that, but the guy Keith West would give us drink tickets. And so by the time we got on the air, it would be like probably 2-3 drinks in, and it'd be like 93.5 Freybe, you know what I mean? Like, and it would just be, we had so much fun, but it would be a slur session on the air.
Yeah.
And I always remember that would be that Saturday going into the Sunday, and we would have these morning conversations of, like, you would call like, "Hey, yo, how fucked up was I?" And and you would be like, "Was I fucked up?" I was like, "I don't really know." Like, and then we would just be like, "No, we were good." Like, it would always be like this consoling session. Like, did we both get too fucked up? And we'd be like, you know what? And you would be like, "Yeah, we can't do this. Like, this is professional. Like, we can't do this no more," until like the next weekend, like, how fucked up did we get? And it would be like, it went that way for for at least a year, for show.
But we always thought, oh, we can handle it, we can do it. But like you said, before you know it, you're like 3-4 drinks in, and then next like, dang, I'm already here. Like, and you got to do your job, so you try your best, thinking in your head, oh, I'm not slurring, I sound good,
And 740 was a vibe. It was like 1,000 plus. You talking about like celebs would come through, like you talking about Robin Thicke, Lil Wayne, DJ Quick, everybody, I remember Keisha Go, she did Let It Go up there, like she premiered it up there. Her crazy, her what's it called, her folks would be up there. It was a vibe. And then 3 levels looking down, I would see Lakers come up there and literally lose the game the next day because it would be so turned up. So,
but you know, that's what LA radio was all about. You know, we had it such on lock, and the things that we were doing that people wanted to be part of it. You know, your major celebrities, you know, and then especially back then, not now, like you very seldom see clubs having people perform. You know, back then, oh, there were stages set up for performances. Clubs were set up to have artists come and perform because they knew people would come through the doors for this performance.
And that was the thing that was dope too, because the way, I think it was Hegwood at the time, he would allow us to put everything that was happening at the club on the air. So you would hear the performance on the air, and that would the energy of the club would literally be exactly what you heard on the radio, and that was what drew people in.
Absolutely. And then, you know, doing the clubs, you know, during that time was just, it put you again in another spectrum of a group of people, you know, that when you do hit the streets on another day, those same people that was at that club remember you and be like,
Right.
oh, wasn't you at club such and such? Oh man, you know, man, wasn't it fun? Oh man, I had a blast. Such and such was there. Oh man, I mean, and you just, your name as a brand continued to grow from events like that.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was 740, Monte Cristo. It was
Monte Cristo. Woo!
It was so crazy.
That back room at Monte Cristo was something special.
It was something special. There was a few iconic ones. It was during the beep, it was Fever.
Shout out to DJ Paradise Club.
Fever was, they literally had to tear down Fever because too many niggas was coming up there. And that was the one club in Orange County that was stupid. Do you have any Fever moments?
Oh no, I'm not talking about no Fever moments. No, come on. No sir. No sir. Hey, close lip on that one. Sorry,
yeah, Fever was that one.
Goodness.
It was that one. It was the point to where every person in LA would take their ass to Orange County, shoulder to shoulder, and it would be once the reggae and the Luger. I mean, it was like it was a floating orgy basically when that happened. It was crazy. It was crazy.
You name any fly chick in Los Angeles, any fly chick in Los Angeles, they was at Club Fever.
Yeah.
And because you had a name, it was easy to holler.
Yeah.
And by the end of the night, you might have got 4, 5, 10 phone numbers by the end of the night.
And whoever had access to that beat van for Club V,
hey,
boy, oh boy.
Hey, I'm not saying no more after that, man. That's it.
Boy, oh boy. All right, so now going back, so now you transition from K-Day, and now you're at KJLH. And how does that happen? How do you get on at KJLH?
I had met the program director, Andre Russell, at KJLH at events over the years. You know, I've always was cool with Andre over the years. And Dre was like, yo, I'm going to get you over at KJLH, man. I want to get you over at KJLH. And I was like, yeah, all right, cool. You know, no biggie, you know. But I was still doing my thing at K-Day. And so when my time ended at K-Day, I hit Dre up. And I was like, yo, Dre, you still got room for me? You still want me to? And he was like, yeah, for sure. He invited me out to, I think it was Stevie Wonder's birthday party. They had, and he invited me out to it. And he was like, come through. And so I came through, hung out. Me and Dre talked for a minute, you know, about, you know, bringing me on board and this, that, and the other. That lasted for, I'm going to say about a couple of months before Dre actually called me back. Because we kind of talked in between, but the final initial was like a few months, calls me and goes, hey, I'm going to bring you on board. I was like, all right, cool. He said, but here's the funny thing. He goes, but I'm bringing you on board to work with the Steve Harvey Morning Show.
Get the hell out of
I
here.
was like, dude, it's like I cannot break away from this dude. I go from the beat working with him. I leave him, go over to K-Day, start doing my own thing. Then he comes over to K-Day. I leave K-Day to come over to KJLH. Then he comes over to KJLH. And I'm like, oh my goodness, dude, like, I can't leave this dude.
And so is he physically in the studio or is it all remote?
This is all syndication now. So Steve has finally had the opportunity to go syndicated. And so now he's syndicated now. And so KJLH bought the contract for him to come to Los Angeles to do syndication. And so Andre knew that I worked with Steve. And so he wanted somebody that was familiar with the show to run the show from Los Angeles. And so he hit me up and he was like, yo, I'm bring you on, do this. And he said, but your cousin is going to be on board too. And I was like, Bobo? He was like, yeah, they want him on board too. And I was like, cool, I get to work with my cousin. Solid, And so we train with the Steve Harvey Morning Show. We do the whole, syndication thing. And I asked straight, like, are we talking to him at all? And there was no communication. So that even made it better because I didn't have to talk to him.
Right.
And so literally I went from doing the Steve Harvey Morning Show, from walking away from the Steve Harvey Morning Show at KJLH to running the promotion department, the digital department, and the internship, and being on air at KJLH.
And that's the thing too. And for those that don't know, so you're coming from a hip hop station, going to like an adult contemporary station. And the cool thing about that though is just that the people that you went to high school with are listeners of this station. They literally grew up with you at this point. And so now you've come to this space of where your childhood, so to speak, is meeting your adulthood, and you literally grew up in this business, and it's followed you. And what's that experience like from being the dude on the streets, and now you're on KJLH, and now people got kids, people are adults, and what's the energy toward Pee Wee as an adult?
It was interesting because I didn't think it was going to translate until I started doing events and going out and stuff like that. And people started showing up, and it was like, we remember you. You came to, like you said earlier, you came to my school. I know who you are. And this, that, and the other. It was like, oh, snaps. Like, so all these people that grew up over here with me literally just followed me over here. And is growing with me over here and building a new fan base over here, so it's now the moms, the grandmoms, the uncles, the aunts that are older are now, they remember me from then, but it's different now, because it's a different radio station. It's different music. It's different. Everything is different now. The times has changed. It's different. How things are done is different. So it's completely different. So the vibe and the energy from everybody was very welcoming coming over to KJLH, because again, everybody just followed me straight on over.
Yeah. And then some of the personalities from the beat were at KJLH also.
From Dominique DePrima to Nautica De La Cruz to Kevin Nash, all ended up at KJLH.
And so what are some of your fun memories from being at KJLH?
Oh man, I had tons of fun memories at KJLH. At the end of the day, being your boss is being one of the major, superstars in the world, Stevie Wonder, is literally, the biggest hoorah anybody can ever have. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about somebody that, your grandparents, your parents grew up listening to this guy, and now like literally you're working with him.
And what's that like? Because I always know like Stevie Wonder on KJLH. What was your relationship with Stevie Wonder, and And how did he talk to you? Did he give you a, like, what's that like?
So the very first time when Dre brought me over, even at his birthday party, I didn't meet him at his birthday party,
Okay.
you know. And so when I finally got on, you know, they used to say, yeah, Stevie, you'll see Stevie will just drop in whenever he feels like, you know, you'll see Stevie. And it was a while before I even saw Stevie. And when he finally came in, you could see the office. Everybody's always excited when he comes in. You know,
Right.
it's kind of like, hey, Stevie's here, Boss Man is here, you know, and then it's like royalty walking into the building. Everybody comes over, speaks to him, says hi and stuff like that, you know. And so he was sitting in Andre's office, and I came down and I said, hey Dre, can you introduce me to Stevie? And so he goes, hey, Stevie, let me introduce you. And he goes, Pee-wee, is that you? And I go, yeah. What's up, boss man? What's up, Stevie? Now, here's the thing though, B.Woods. I met Stevie when I was working with the Steve Harvey morning show. So he knew me then. And it was one of the biggest pranks that a lot of folks still in Los Angeles talk about, that Stevie stole. Stevie Wonder stole Steve Harvey's car. And remember, we was on 1900. Remember, we was working on 1900 Wilshire, right there
Yeah.
across the street from the La Brea Tar Pits.
Right.
They got Steve Harvey's truck, put Stevie Wonder in it, and was driving his truck around the block. And Steve Harvey was looking down and seeing his car driving around, you know, and this is all on air. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe, like, you guys put it. And Stevie calls him from his car, from the studio. And he's like, what are you doing in my car, man? Don't crash my car. So it was a big bit. So
that's hilarious.
I met Stevie Wonder by phone call working on the Steve Harvey morning show. So when I finally met him, he already knew who I was.
Okay.
And so it was like, he was cool as hell. Stevie Wonder is like one of your homies. It's just like me and you sitting here talking. It's the same way he is.
Right.
He'll talk shit with you. You guys can bag on one another. Like, you can talk trash to one another, laugh about, like, he's that type of person, you know, cool as hell, down to earth. You know what I'm saying? And we sat there and we just talked for a second. He was like, just welcome to the team, and, you know, do your thing, have fun. And, you know, and that was it. After that first time I met him, like, me and him just grew a relationship after that, you know?
And that's so cool too. And Stevie, and it's so, because I mean, this is a legend. And Stevie would make himself accessible. I remember him even going to the club across the street from the station in Savoy.
Oh, come on.
If everybody knows, that's one of the triple OG spots out here in LA. Hood, but it's fun, right? And I remember Stevie was saucy, and it was reggae night, and he went up there singing some reggae, and I was like, "What is like?" And y'all can tell he was drinking, but it sounded dope. He's like, "Yeah, we got a special guest in the building. It's Stevie Wonder." I was like, "Oh shit!" And I was like, "He's like, there's anybody? You know, we're gonna see some reggae." You know, it was the whole thing. It was like one of the most memorable nights I ever saw at a hood spot. Like Stevie Wonder drops in, you know, and it's just Hennessy glasses everywhere. So
I'm gonna tell you, the least spots that you think, Stevie would show up to it. He would show up. Stevie, like, I mean, I don't know about now, but back then, you know, Stevie would show up. You'd be like, hey, Stevie, I'm going over to this club. Stevie would be like, all right, I'm coming. Like, that's how he was.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And so did you ever pull up to a club with Stevie?
A few times.
Which spots?
Like Savoy, we would go to the Savoy. Yeah. And then it was a club in Hollywood where they were doing like live bands and stuff like that. Now, mind you, Stevie Wonder is a musician. Like, he loves music. Like, and he loves to listen to music, all types of music. Doesn't matter what it is. Stevie's listening to music, you know. And it was an artist that he wanted to listen to that was in Hollywood. And we drove all the way out to Hollywood to listen to him.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it was so many dope experiences that because KJLH is a heritage station in LA, Black owned. You really feel when you listen to the station like you're listening to a family station. And so they had this event, Taste of Soul. I think they still have Taste of Soul. What were some of your experiences at that Taste of Soul?
Man, Taste of Soul is bananas. You know, when you look at a staple in Los Angeles where you have over, you know, from start to finish, over 100,000 people show up, right? From start to finish on Crenshaw Boulevard. And you know, KGLH is at one end of Crenshaw, the Wave is at the other end of Crenshaw. Those are the two stages. And you have major artists on both stages going back and forth performing. And when you're on that stage, all you look out and you see is just a sea of heads, you know, and it's the most craziest thing to see on Crenshaw Boulevard, you know, on the Shaw, that everybody be rolling up and down and stuff like that. But just see Crenshaw shut down and just a sea of heads and people just enjoying themselves, having a good time, eating, drinking, listening to good music and just vibing out and having fun. Like, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And it's one of those things too. It's like a big family reunion because it's one of the few times when all black folks come together in LA because we're hella spread out. And so to have that event, and so now you're at some place like Taste of Soul and you get to see everybody that grew up with you. When you walk through that crowd at Taste of Soul, what's that like?
That was very hard, you know, because everybody's stopping you. Everybody want to say hi. Everybody want to take pictures and stuff like that. And I'm not saying it's hard, but you know, you couldn't get from point A to point B, you know, because people would stop you and say hi and want to take pictures and stuff like that, you know, and you feel the love and you appreciate that because, you know, they didn't have to do it. They didn't have to stop you. They didn't have to want to take a picture with you and stuff like that, you know, but it means a lot because you understand that the hard work that I put in, I meant something to somebody, you know, and it's so funny. And I know you know this too, B.Woods, that, you know, you might meet somebody and they'd be like, yo, I remember you when we did da 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 da. And you like thinking in your head, like, man, I don't remember that joint, but I'm glad that you remember it because it was memorable to them. You know, you made it special for them. And that's the reason why they remember it. We do so many events and it all kind of like everything is the same. We just keep it moving and stuff like that, you know? And so Takes a Soul, man, like it, like you said, it's a family reunion and everybody comes out and it's so beautiful and fun.
Yeah. And so and that's one of the biggest staples of KJLH as an event. And so now you're at KJLH. How long were you at KJLH for?
I was at KJLH for almost 10 years.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Man, real talk. Real talk. Almost 10 years, KJLH. Yeah.
And so yeah, the 10 years, is there any moments that you remember at KJLH that stood out to you?
Oh man, it was so many memorable moments at KJLH. You know, again, we deal with the community. KJLH is a community station. So there's, you know, we give back to the community a lot at KJLH, you know, with Stevie Wonder's House Full of Toys, you know, the turkey giveaways that we do, giving community, you know, money and stuff like that, different organizations and stuff like that. I remember I created at KJLH, one of my favorites, I created, it was called the Food Truck Festival that we used to do on Market Street. That was the first one in years that something like that happened. And we had a hell of a turnout. In which now, when you look at what I did with the city of Inglewood, and that started with Parks and Recs. So we teamed up with Parks and Recs, with the city of Inglewood, KJLH, to do the Food Truck Festival. We did the Food Truck Festival 3 years. After that, it kind of got shut down, because it was a lot between the city and KJLH to keep putting this event together.
Right.
And so if you look at now, Taste of Inglewood is just the offspring of what we did just a few years before that.
That's huge. And Taste of Eagle was getting bigger. I think I was like Issa Rae was there earlier this year, which was sick. Did you have a relationship with Issa Rae in with working at KJLH?
No, we never had Issa Rae come through KJLH, but I know Issa Rae through another mutual friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the energy is just like I didn't even know you created that. And then how about as far as like artists that came through KJLH, any moments that stood out to you?
Man, Anita Baker, Maxwell, Usher, Shantae Moore, Kenny Lattimore, man, her. I mean, you name them, because again, it's Stevie Wonder.
Right.
And all you have to do is drop Stevie Wonder's name to these artists and they're showing up. Because at the end of the day, they want the conversation or they want to say hello to the legend.
Right. And that 10-year run is just crazy. And so what how did that end? How did the 10-year run end at KJLH?
KJLH, was losing a lot of money. Advertising wasn't good. And so, they had to, budget, and a few of us wasn't in the budget. And so they had to let us go.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how is that experience for you? 10 years, that's a decade in this space. The experience with Steve, and at this point, like, are you saying, hey, radio's cool, I had a good run, or did you just, or did what happened?
No, I'm still in radio. Now I'm on a different spectrum of radio now. When I left KJLH, and again, when I was at KJLH, I was over promotions, I was over digital marketing, all of that stuff. And so I was in those meetings with management. So I knew what was going on. I knew about budget because we were struggling to pay for certain things. So I knew what was going on. This wasn't like a shock, or this wasn't some, BS that they were, just putting out there. I knew what was going on because
it wasn't like the situation with Steve, like it wasn't crazy or nothing like that. Okay.
Not at all. And so when it came down, and they just explained it to me, said, hey, this is what it is. And it was no hard feelings. It was like, I get it. Like, there's no biggie to it. Okay, cool. And I left on a good note.
Right.
So when I left there, I ended up back at the station. Well, the company that I started with, iHeart Media.
Right.
So back then, it was Clear Channel to AM, FM, but Clear Channel is now iHeart Media.
Right.
And so now I'm back with iHeart, the company I started with, but now I'm at a parent company underneath iHeart, which is Premier Networks, where we do nothing but syndicated radio. So now I'm dealing with syndication radio. So I help run a couple of shows. I help produce some shows. So yeah, I'm still in the game. I'm just now behind the scenes where I'm not out and about now.
And that's the thing too, because it's just like so many different stages, and that's what I've noticed. Like, you graduate and you're doing any different things in the game, and so like for the person that is aspiring to be within the broadcast space, because what we had will never be recreated ever
absolutely
again.
not.
It's never going to be there the way that it was. And I would even say, like, right now, even terrestrial radio is not what it is. It doesn't have the same impact. Like, literally podcast, different things, more people listening habits are just different. And so I think from the chunk of what radio was the I would almost say like the golden age of the medium was when we came out or whatever. what, how would you speak to somebody that wanted to do broadcasting in a traditional sense, or what advice would you give, the next gen?
It's like you said, terrestrial radio is kind of, you know, you know, literally going down the drain. And it really spoke volumes during COVID. It showed that, terrestrial radio was hurting. All the stations were hurting because, terrestrial radio is free radio. And so with that is everybody wasn't in a car. And that's what most of the time people are listening in the car to terrestrial radio. One, two, people are out and about listening to the radio. And nobody was out. Everybody was in the house, stuck in the house because of COVID. So when numbers started to come out, you started seeing numbers dip. All radio stations
Right.
in Los Angeles was dipping because the numbers wasn't up. So that really hurt terrestrial radio. So with that, if I gave any advice for anybody, I think starting on a podcast,
Right.
get up on a podcast, but not do your homework, do your researching on how podcasts really work. Just don't think it's getting in front of a mic and just talking about whatever and stuff like that. There's a real science behind doing a podcast. So listen to some of your favorite podcasts, dissect some of them, understand, the breakdowns from start to finish, what they do. Take a listen to maybe about 5 of them and see what these 5 have all in common, see what they all have differently, and then again, do your homework, know what you're going to talk about, because it ain't just cracking the mic and just talking.
Not at all. Not at all. And I got to play one of my favorite radio moments. I went through the archives and I found one of my favorite radio moments with you. So here we go. Here we go.
Hip hop today. And back in the day, and today we've been trying to get in contact with Pee-wee because today is his birthday, And let's go ahead and try it one more time. Let's see if I can get in contact with this dude. Hello? Yeah, birthday boy! Yeah, birthday boy! What's the deal? Man, who is this? No, I'm like, what up, Pee-wee? What's up, B.Woods? What's the house, players? Man, you tell me it's your day. People been calling up here, want to know where the birthday party at. They just want to know what's going on with you. What's good, dog? Man, it's good, man. I'm just enjoying my birthday, man. Just having a wonderful time. Brother turning 29. So I'm just... Wait, time out. Flag on the plate. Flag on the plate. How old are you turning? 29, player. 29.
Shut up, B.Woods.
Yes.
I thought you said 20 at first. I was about to call you out. Nah, there you go. Nah, 29, big dog. Any big plans for tonight? Man, just gonna hang out with the family. That's about it, man. Just enjoy the time with the family. And just, enjoy my birthday, man. This is a beautiful time, I'm on that fine line of 30, but right now we just gonna enjoy 29. You ain't got no little shooby doobies on deck? Nah, let's go, man. No, I'm serious, Okay, I mean, that's your business. I ain't gonna put that out there, Stupid, man. It's all good. This next song goes out to you, Pee-wee. What song is that? Man, you just gotta chill out and enjoy. Okay, no doubt. Happy birthday.
B.Woods, where did you get that?
Hello? I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a
Yeah, buddy. I taped almost all my shows, so I just went through them, and I was like, okay, I got one. So yeah.
Holy moly! And what's funny, B.Woods? I just celebrated my birthday not too long ago.
Happy birthday!
Yeah, man.
Happy birthday!
Bro. That's crazy. You got to send that to me, bro.
I will.
Please, you got to send that to me. That's crazy.
Yeah. It was a dope show. It's like I think I felt it for the Baker. So part of the bit, I was trying to get in contact with you about your birthday, and it was a big part of that show, which was super dope. So I was like, okay, when I get you on, I gotta get that on for you.
Man, I appreciate that, bro. Oh man, that brings back memories, bro. 29, geez Louise. I was a young little whippersnapper.
That's what I'm saying. Time flies, man. And we had so many amazing moments together. And that's why this is so important, because we want to share these times and really give you your flowers, bro, because you've done so much for the city. You've done so much for so many different people, and we love you, man. And that's why I had to have you on, brother.
Man, I appreciate that, B.Woods. I thank you so much for that, And I want to kind of bring it back for a second, though.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because I remember when you first got started,
when
you first came into the building. And I remember you like you said, you was wet behind the ears. You was trying to soak everything in. And I remember seeing that in you. And I remember like us hitting, like when you first got in, hitting the streets, how nervous you was. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you didn't know how to take it all in. And I remember we used to try to get you on the mic, and like you would not get on the mic for nothing in the world.
Wow.
And then finally, that first time, like you cracked the mic, like it was like you came out your shell, bro. Like it was like on and cracking after that.
It was, because it was so that's so funny you say that, because I was so intimidated, because it was like you guys were like celebrities, and it was a family already established.
Yeah.
And you're talking about not just like, just regular folks, but these are people that you listen to the whole time. It's like going into the Lakers locker room and it's like LeBron there, this, that, the other. And then you just kind of walk in and everybody's talking and you just like, okay. And you've never played basketball before in your life. And and you guys were so cool. And I'm naturally an introvert. I'm like a nerdy dude. I'm a square. So like when I saw like the cool people around, I was like, oh, here we go. But you guys were mad cool to me. And I think that was the first time that I really did have like broke out of my shell. I wasn't like that in high school. I wasn't like that in college, but it was like, this was the first time that I felt like I had a family energy there. And I want to thank you for making me feel comfortable, bro. Like for real, for real.
And, and I appreciate that, and I think I go back to, and I say to P-Funk, Corn Dog, and PJ Butter, who helped me understand that. Welcoming people in, newbies in, because I remember I was the same exact way, and they did that for me, and they instilled that in me just to make sure that, whoever you dealt with, man, just make sure they feel comfortable coming in.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember that it was you. Chipmunk was another one. He was another one that was shy as all outdoors. Boy, and when he broke out his shell, it was like, man, who is this little dude?
You couldn't shut him up after that.
Could not do it, man.
Till this day, man. And you still here making people feel amazingly, not just comfortable, but just like really just putting, something special in our memories and in our lives. And so, yeah, man, you deserve everything that's coming to you, and every hug, picture when you out in these streets in LA. It really, really does make a difference, bro. For real, man. So I just want to thank you so much, Pee-wee, for being a part of the podcast. And bro,
I thank you, B.Woods. Thank you, bro.
Gotta give you your flowers, family. Definitely.
And same to you, man. I'm proud of you and all your accomplishments too, man. And stay on the grind. Don't stop, man. And continue to gravitate, man. Continue to gravitate. And do your thing, man. Don't let nobody tell you can't, because you can.
Thank you, brother. And happy belated. Hey!